Hi there. Hope you have a fantastic day today. This lesson, we will go through 2021 HSC papers. Of course, there is a PDF file versions on the description below for you to download so you can work with me. Otherwise, let's go straight into it. Question 11. To solve this kind of questions, so first of all, the easiest way is we can just get rid of the fraction first by times 2 on every terms, okay? So this term here, x, which is times by 2, and this term with bracket, we times by 2, and this we times by 2, okay? To simplify this, so 2 times x is 2x. And this one here, we cancel out, so leave with x minus 1. And because it's plus x minus 1, we can ignore the brackets, okay? So plus x minus 1. And then we have 9 times 2 is 18. Just write 18. So now what I do, I just collect like terms by adding the x value. So that means 2x plus x is 3x. And the negative 1, we move on that side, becomes plus 1. So 18 plus 1 is 19. So that is equal to 19. And I divide by 3 on both sides. So 19 over 3. Or we can write in mixed numerals. So 3 go to 19 is 6. Remainder 1, so a third. So therefore, x is 6 and a third. Otherwise, you can just go 19 divided by 3 using your calculator and you should get the answer. Question 22. So we need to find the length of xy. So xy is this length here. And we know that it is a right or triangle. And we have adjacent. This is what we're after. And then we have hypotenuse, because the longer side. So AH, so cos, so quatre, okay, because it's a right angle triangle. So that means we just go cos of 30 is equal to adjacent, which is xy over h. But h is 16. So now I just times 16 on both sides. So this becomes 16 cos of 30 is equal to xy. But then we need to give the answer correct to 2 decimal place. So I just put on a calculator. So I just go 16 cos of 30 equal 13.856 and so on. But we need to round up to 2 decimal place. So 13.86. So therefore, xy is equal to 13.86. So there you go. Part B. So we need to find the shaded area. So the shaded area is this area here. Okay, so we need to find this area. So in another word, we need to find the area of the semicircle and we minus the area of the right angle triangle. But instead of using right angle triangle, a half times base times height, we can also use the area is equal to half AB sine C. And this is A, this is B, if you like, because we have the angle in between already. Okay, so let me just work it out. So the radius is 16, keep that in mind because the diameter is 6. So let me just write this down. So area is the area of a semicircle. So pi r squared will give me the area of circle with times a half. And then we minus the area of the triangle is a half AB sine of C, angle in between. So which is pi times 8 squared times a half. That will give me the area of a semicircle. And we minus the triangle, a half, A and B, doesn't matter which one A or B, okay? Which is this is A, this is B. So B is 16, A is 13.86. So times by 13.86 and we times by 16 and size the angle in between. The angle in between is 30 degrees. So that will give me, so I just put on a calculator. So I just go shift pi times 8 squared and then we times by a half or 0.5 we do. and then we minus 0.5 times 13.86 times 16 and sine of 30. Close brackets. So there you go. So correct to one decimal place, 45.1. Okay, so the answer is 45.1 square centimeters. So there you go. Question 13. So we need to find the exact gradient of the tangents, okay, to the curve y is equal to x tan of x. So step number 1, we need to find the gradient of this function first. So let me just write the question out. Y is x tan of x. So we differentiate this, we use product rules. So we differentiate the first functions. So this means that differentiate x is 1. So y dash is 1. And we times by the second functions. Then we differentiate the second function, this function here. So differentiate tan, give me sec square of x. So we add sec square of x. And we times by the first functions. The first function is x. We bracket it. So there you go. So now let me just tidy this up. So this is exactly the same as 1 times tan x is tan of x. And then we add x sec square of x. So there you go. But we need to find the gradient at x is equal to pi over 3. So therefore at x is equal to pi over 3. So every time we see x, we replace with pi over 3. Pi over 3, pi over 3. So now that will give me is equal to y dash is tan of pi over 3 with plus pi over 3 sec square of pi over 3. So that is equal to tan pi over 3 is root 3. So the answer is root 3. Now, if you don't remember, you can always use calculator. Let me just show you how. So tan pi over 3 is 60 degrees. So there you go. I square it. Give me 3. So the answer should be square root 3. So there you go. We add pi over 3. Now sec square. So the C is for cos. So we just need to work out cos of 60 degrees, right? Because pi over 3 is 60. So with cos of 60 degrees is a half. But because of sec 60 degrees, so we just flip it. A half, flip it, become 2. And 2 square will give me 4. So the answer is 4. There you go. Again, you can always use calculator, do the same manners, and you should get the answer. So now, simplify this. So that will give me square root of 3. We add 4 pi over 3. So there you go. Question 14. So first of all, we know that the first term is 5. So therefore, let me write this down. A is 5. And the sum of the first 43 term is this. So in another word, S43 is 2021. So we need to find the common difference. So that is D. So it's already given the sum of the first 43 term. So we use this formula, sum formula. Sn is n over 2a plus n minus 1 times D. And we know that S of 43 is 2021. This is 2021. And A is 5. Okay, so keep that in mind. So now what I do, I just replace with these numbers. So 2021 equal to n. So n is 43 over 2. And 2 times A is 5. So 2 times 5 is 10. And we add n is 43. And 43 minus 1 is 42. And times D. So there you go. So what I do, I can just times 2 on both sides. So if I times 2 on both sides, so that would give me 4042 is equal to 43. And then 10 plus 42D. So what I do, I just divide by 43 on both sides. So I just using calculator. So I just go 4042 divided by 43. So that is 94. So 94 is 10 plus 42D. And I minus 10 on both sides. So 84 is 42D. And I divided by 42 on both sides. So D is equal to 2. So therefore, D is 2. So therefore, the common difference is 2. Question 15. So to integrate this, so we know the rule is this. Okay, integrate f dash x, f of x, power of n, dx. That will give me 1 over n plus 1 and f of x power of n plus 1, we add a constant. But in this case, we do not need to add a constant because it's definite integration. So we don't need to add a c. So keep that in mind. So let me just rewrite in this form first. So it's integrate from -2 to 0 to x plus 4 power of a half dx. And if we differentiate inside here, that is f of x. So that give me 2. So therefore, we just need to times 2 here to make it f dash x times f of x power of n. Okay, so now I need to divide by 2 here. So there you go. So this is in this form here. So now what I do, I just use a rule. So that is equal to a half. And this a half, I just write it down here. Okay, so that's all I did. So now it becomes 1 plus and 1 over that. So that means 1 plus a half is just like 2 plus 1, give me 3 over 2. And we divide by 3 over 2. We flip that, becomes times. So that means 2 over 3. So 2 over 3, and then 2x plus 4, we add 1s, of course, so 3 over 2. And then that's it, from -2 to 0. So there you go. So now what I do, I just substitute the value in. So that will give me a half, 2 over 3, and we bracket. So 0 times 2 becomes 0, and then that becomes 4 power of 3 over 2 minus 2 over 3. Now we replace x with -2. So -2 times 4 is -4. So -4 plus 4 is 0. So 0 power of 3 over 2. So 0 power of any numbers is 0 anyway. So that becomes 0. So that will give me a half with times. So if you think about it, okay, 3 over 2 is square root of 4 power of 3. And that square root 4 is 2. 2 power of 3 is 8. So that means 2/3 times 8. So this becomes 2 over 3 times 8. And I simplify further. This cancel with this. So the answer is 8 over 3. So equal 8 over 3. Or can be equal to 2 and 2/3. Otherwise, you can just put down a calculator and you should get the same answer. Okay. Question 16. So we need to find the value of x that the function is increasing. So the word increasing means f dash x is positive, greater than 0 if you like. So let me just differentiate the function first. So f dash x is equal to 2x minus 6x squared. And we want the gradient functions to be greater than 0. So in another word, 2x minus 6x squared greater than 0. Now we need to solve this inequality. So to do this, let me just make the functions equal to 0 first. Okay, we just need to find the x-intercepts first. So 2x minus 6x square is 0. So I take 2x out because 2x is a common factor. So I take 2x out. So 1 minus 3x is 0. So this means that 2x is 0 or 1 minus 3x is 0. So therefore, x is equal to 0. I move this on that side. 1 is equal to 3x. In another word, 3x is 1. So therefore, x is a third. So this means that x equals 0 and x equal to a third is the x-intercept. Okay, so let me just do a quick sketch. So if we have a parabola and we know that it is upside down because of negative x squared. So 0 here and a third here and it's upside down. Like that. Okay, and we want this graph to be above 0. So there you go. That's the answer. So it's between 0 and a third. So you got therefore greater than 0 for x and less than a third. So there you go. So the question is, by using the equations of regression line, so this is the equations of the regression line, this one here. Okay, so that's what we need to after. It said here, predict the average maximum daily temperature in degrees Celsius for a town that is 540 meters above sea level. So we need to answer in 1 decimal place. So in another word, when x is equal to 540, we need to find the y value. Y is the average maximum daily temperature here. Okay, and x is this. So keep that in mind. So let me just clear this. Otherwise, we just look at the functions. So when x is 540, so y is 29.2 minus 0.011, and we times by 540. Now just put on a calculator. So just go 29.2 minus 0.011 bracket 540. So there you go, 23.26, but only answer in 1 decimal place. So it should be 23.3. So which is equal to 23.3 degrees Celsius. So there you go. Part 2. The gradient of the regression lines is negative 0.011. Interpret the value of this gradient in the given context. So we know that the gradient is rise over runs. So the rise over run. So rise is the average maximum temperature in degrees Celsius. So let me just write degrees Celsius. Yeah. Over the run. The run is this. So this is the rise and this is the run, if you like. So that is the height above sea level, which is x meters. So this is meters. So that is negative 0.011. So in another word, every meters increase in the height above sea level, the average maximum temperature is decreased by this amount. So keep that in mind. And we can also mention about this correlation as well. So the correlations between the average maximum daily temperature and the height above sea level is negative moderate correlations, okay, because it's negative 0.494. So it's moderate negative correlations. Now second part. So part B. Which measurement height above the sea level or latitude would be better to use to predict this town average maximum daily temperature? So to work this out, we just need to compare the correlation coefficients. So this one here is negative 0.897. So it is strong negative correlations. So whereas this one here is negative moderate correlations coefficients. So therefore, of course, latitude would be better to use because it has a strong negative correlations compared to the high above sea level, because it's only have negative moderate correlation coefficients. So keep that in mind. Question 18. So we need to find the angle ABC. So angle ABC is this. So let me just make this angle as theta. So to work this out, we have two angles. So this is one angle, this is another angle. So count as two angles. So therefore we use sine rule. So sine rule, opposite of this, and we use opposite of that. So that means sine angle theta over 25 is equal to sine of 28 over 16. So now what I do, I times 25 on both sides. So this means that sine of theta will give me, because I times 25, and this cancel out. I times 25. So this means that this will give me 25 sine of 28 over 16. So now what I do, I just put on a calculator. So it should give me, so I just go 25 sine of 28 brackets, I divide by 16. So 0.733 and so on. So sine theta is 0.733. So therefore theta equal, I just inverse side the answer. So I just go shift sine answer close brackets equal. So 47.18 and so on. Let me just write this down. 47.18 so on. But because this should be angle of ABC, but we want the obtuse angles. So therefore we go 180 degrees minus that. Okay. So angle ABC is 180 minus 47.18 and so on. So that should give me, so just go 180 minus the answer, and it's correct to nearest to degree. So therefore 132.8, so it should be 133 degrees. So 133 degrees. So there you go. Question number 19. So to get this kind of graph, first of all, we need to recognize this, okay? 1 over x, the graph would be like this. I'll just do a quick sketch for you so you can see what it is. So when x plus 4, underneath of this, the graph is shift 4 units to the left, okay? So keep that in mind. So in another word, it's shift 4 units to the left here. So that's -4. So that means the graph is like this. So there you go. But don't forget, okay, this one here is exactly the same as this. See? And the +2 here, the graph is shift up 2 units. So in another word, this horizontal asymptote here originally now move 2 units up. So the graph should be something like that. Like that, okay? So keep that in mind. So let me just redraw this properly. So I just draw this on here. But please use your ruler, okay? So I just draw freehand. I'm just explaining to you. That's all. So this is y, this is x. And the vertical asymptote is -4. And the horizontal asymptote is 2. So just 2 here roughly. And the graph is like this. And this is like this. So there you go. But we do need to find x-intercepts and y-intercept. So to find x-intercept, this means when y equals 0. To find y-intercept, that means when x is equal to 0. So when x is equal to 0, so let me write down here. So y-intercept, that means when x is equal to 0. So when x is equal to 0, y is equal to, so this function here, x is 0, so that becomes 2 plus a quarter. So that is 2 1/4. So this is 2 1/4. To find x-intercept, that means when y is equal to 0. So let me write down here. So x-intercept. So when y equals 0, so this value here becomes 0. So 0 equal to 2 plus 1 over x plus 4. So now I move the 2 on this side, become minus 2 or negative 2. So negative 2 equal to 1 over x plus 4. I times x plus 4 on both sides. So this means that negative 2 x plus 4 is 1. So what I do, I just expand the brackets. So negative 2x minus 8 is equal to 1. So now what I do, I move the negative 8 on that side, become plus 8. So 1 plus 8 is 9. So negative 2x is 9. So x must be equal to negative 9 over 2. Or negative 4.5. So this number here is negative 4.5. So there you go. That's it. We have x-intercept, y-intercept, horizontal asymptote, vertical asymptote. That's all we need to do. Okay. So for what value of x in the interval of 0 to power 4, okay, y equal 1 is intersect with 2 a side of 4x. So we just make it 1 is equal to 2 side of 4x, and we just solve for that. Okay. So let me just equate this. So in another word, 2 side of 4x is 1. And we just need to solve for that. So to do this, I divide by 2 on both sides. So this means sine of 4x is 1 over 2. And we know that x is between these two. But then we solve for 4x, sine of 4x. So therefore, we just change the domain by time by 4 on both sides. So that give me 0, 4x. That time by 4, so that should give me pi. So between 0 and pi. So now what I do, I just know that sine is positive. So let me just draw the diagram. Because sine is positive, because it's a half is positive. So that means in this quadrant and this quadrant. And to work out the reference angles, we just go inverse sine of 0.5. So inverse sine of 0.5, it should give me pi over 6. Otherwise, you can just use your calculator. Inverse sine of a half should give me 30 degrees and just convert to radian. So it should give you pi over 6. Okay, so that's pi over 6, pi over 6. So now 4x, the first answer is pi over 6. And this answer here will give me, so 1 pi minus pi over 6. 1 minus 1 over 6 is just 5 over 6. So 5 pi over 6. And another one is 2 pi at pi over 6. So therefore, it's more than pi. So therefore, we stop there. So keep that in mind. That's why we need to change the domain. So we know when to stop. So now we're dividing by 4. So x equal pi over 24. And 5 pi over 6 divided by 4. So 5 pi over 24. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.